Here's a speech by Arthur Douglas Axe. His argument essentially is that we have intuitions, that is biases, about probability, and we should totally listen to them if they tell us that intelligent design is real.
That a lot of people scratch their head and say, yeah, are you telling me that you can reject all of evolutionary biology based on an intuition? Yes, but you need to read the book to be convinced of this.
I doubt your book is really going to convince me.
Perhaps the kids are right, and the educated people, may be a little bit egotistical in their education, have actually dug a hole and they're stuck in it and they can't get out of it.
Which are you going to believe? The intuitions of children, or a bunch of snobby scientists with their fancy schmancy logic and evidence?
And if that's the situation, it reminds me of a certain children's story about an emperor where the people who are so obsessed with prestige and what they look like get locked into a lie. And the people who don't care about prestige and don't care about what other people think about them, the children, can see very clearly.
If scientists are really concerned with prestige, they should all be trying to overturn the consensus about evolution. You don't gain prestige as a scientist by corroborating the ideas of the status quo. Studies that just repeat the results of prior studies often don't even get published. The way you get prestige in science is by showing the consensus to be wrong. Newton made it into the history books because he proved Aristotle wrong. Einstein made it into the history books by proving Newton wrong. Nobody would ever have heard of or cared about these guys if they had never said anything original. If you think that you get prestige among scientists by just repeating what everyone else is saying, you don't understand how the scientific community operates.
And I actually argue in the book that this is the situation here, that the kids really have won this contest, and it may not be conceded for some time. But the point of the book is to take that message out to as many people as possible, to get as many people to see, hey, yeah, there is something to this. I think the kids understand this one maybe better than even the Nobel laureates do. I'll quote a Nobel laureate in just a moment. But so I call it the universal design intuition. You can phrase in different ways. One way that you could say it is, as makers of things, we as makers of things instantly recognize things that were made. And we know these things can't be made without know-how.
How the fuck do we know that? If I were completely ignorant of any technology more complex than stone tools and I happen to find a watch or a VHS tape or something, I see absolutely no reason why I would have any intuition that these things were consciously constructed. I only infer a posteriori that these things are created by people from the fact that I am aware of things like manufacturing.
That's one way you could say it. In the book, I say it like this. Tasks that we would need knowledge to accomplish can be accomplished only by someone who has that knowledge.
That's clearly not true. I have no idea how to make a rock. I'd need to know the ingredients and the processes by which they have to be combined. Does that mean that rocks can only be made by a person with knowledge?
They can never just happen. Things that need knowledge, there's no substitute for knowledge. A simple way to say it, accidents can't do the work of know-how. If something requires know-how, you'll never find that it gets done by accident. It always requires someone who knows how doing it. Okay, this is not complicated. If we all get it, by elementary school age, then it's not going to be complicated. I take some very simple examples in the book. This is one that's in one of the figures. We all know what this is. It's an origami crane, but I'm saying that just to get this idea of the design intuition, if you imagine a kid who's never seen one of these before and comes across one on a table and doesn't know who made it, nonetheless, they will know that someone made it.
I'm not convinced that all or even most children would make this inference, but even if they would, how the fuck would the fact that children make an inference be evidence of the reliability of that inference? Have you ever talked to children? They say and believe all kinds of stupid shit that isn't true. Why are you citing the judgment of children as though it is evidence of anything?
They will know that somebody took some time to fold paper in this way, and they'll see that this is something clever. And the reason we see this so early is by the time we're 2, we're looking at things and wanting to do them, right? You see brother, sister, you see a mother, father do things, you see a friend do something, you want to do that from, easily the age of 2 or before that. This is the sort of thing that we see, and we say, hey, how is that done? Somebody did that. How is that done? Can I do that? Teach me how. And that's how we build this intuition. And if that is something, if the origami crane is something that we look at and we say someone did that, then all the more we will look at the actual thing and say somebody did that.
And this is a well-known fallacy. It's called a hasty generalization. Also, since you believe that a god designed absolutely everything, what would something look like if it were not designed? How do you distinguish between things that look designed and things that don't? If you believe that literally everything was designed, then how is the design argument not simply non-falsifiable?
Okay, I told you I'd quote a Nobel laureate. It's going to be Francis Crick, one of the co-discoverers of the double helix. In his book, What Mad Pursuit, he said, biologists must constantly keep in mind that what they see was not designed but rather evolved. So, Francis Crick, he's in his 70s when he wrote this. After a full career, a very sterling career in the life sciences, says, keep in mind, you biologists, what you're looking at was not designed, it evolved. So what he's saying here is even he has this intuition. You can suppress it. You can spend your whole life suppressing it, but it doesn't go away. You have to keep working on it.
Yes, it takes effort not to succumb to irrational biases. You seem to think that the fact that a bias is strong is evidence of its veracity.
Hey, if it's just an intuition, do we need to take it seriously or not? I mean, intuition could be nothing more than a hunch. We know that some intuitions are wrong. Just the fact that we all have it doesn't mean that it's true. So why should we take this intuition seriously? Well, a big chunk of the book is making the case that although this is an intuition, it is not just an intuition. It actually has a scientific footing to it. It's reliable.
If that's the case, then the fact that people have this intuition is totally fucking irrelevant and you've just wasted 10 minutes of everyone's time. Why the fuck would you not start by showing the evidence? Hey everybody, I've got great evidence for intelligent design, but before showing it to you, let me drone on for a while about how popular creationism is among 2-year-olds. Thanks again, Patreon people.